Football is a crazy game, isn't it? A crazy, crazy game. Hello everybody, it's Ian here from OUFC Fan View, and it's time to do another review of another Oxford United game. Today, the Yellows were at home again. Home to Hull City. Oxford's unbeaten home record went up in smoke at the weekend as Swansea beat them 2-0. So we all needed a response. We were all desperate for that winning feeling that we have not felt for a long, long time. It was a similar story for Hull, and you know the Tigers would have been eyeing this one up as a chance to get a precious away win. And there's no getting around it. They really should have got it. They really should have done. We'll go over everything in the game in just a minute. But somehow, some way, Oxford got a goal and Oxford held on to it. And Oxford got the win. Somehow is the word of the day. But it finished. Oxford United won. Hull City 0. And we'll do what we usually do on the channel. We'll go over the team news. I'll give my review of the game, highlighting the key moments of it, and then I'll give my final thoughts for both sides at the end of the video. Please feel free to jump to any point of the video if you like. If you just want to skip to the final thoughts, that's absolutely fine. You can use the timestamps down below. But if you do that, the very least you can do is hit like on this video, because that does help me out a heck of a lot. And if you do like the content, including my wild and wacky predictions videos, consider subscribing. So let's have a look at this Oxford United team news. It was 8 without a win for Des Buckingham's sides. We wanted changes after that poor performance and result against Swansea, and we certainly got changes. This system is up on the screen, but I'm not sure how much Oxford played this system. It seemed to be very fluid, going back from 4 at the back to 3 at the back. It seemed to be something that they were switching from, certainly in the first half. And you certainly didn't see Tyler Goodrum playing in that role high up the pitch, just behind the striker. But let's go over the changes nonetheless. Greg Lee and Hidde Ter Avest come into the side. It was Ter Avest's first start of the season. Proved to be a good move. Will Vauxhall and Edris El Masoudi came back into midfield, and Dane Scarlett got the nod up top instead of Mark Harris. Ruben Rodriguez, Peter Kioso and Owen Dale dropped to the bench. Louis Sibley was not in the matchday squad at all, but there was a place on the bench for young Indonesian sensation Marcelino Ferdinand. If he'd have come on, it would have been... Twitter would have gone into meltdown. There would have been parties from Jakarta to Bali. But as I said, don't pay too much attention to what you've seen on the screen, because don't think Oxford really stuck to this. Let's move on to Hull City then, and Tim Volter's Tigers started today in 15th place, and they were 1 point ahead of Oxford going into this one, but it was no win in 5 for the Tigers, and there was growing signs of discontent amongst the Hull faithful. Volter made 3 changes from the side that drew 1-1 at home with Pompey at the weekend. Abdus Umur, Ryan Giles and Casey Palmer in for Abdu Kamara, who's injured. Cody Drama and Gustavo Puerta dropped to the bench. There was only 8 subs for Hull because they had a bit of weird news today. Oscar Zambrano has been charged with a doping offence, so therefore wasn't in the squad. Yeah, bit of a weird one. Let me know what you think about that one, Hull fans. But their main threat was Mohamed Baloumi, and he had a great game. We'll get into it in just a bit, but he certainly was, going into this one, the main threat for Hull. The right winger had 2 goals and 2 assists for the season. So let's move on to the game then, and I did sense that Oxford were definitely trying to press Hull much higher and much quicker than what we saw them do against Swansea. And they was quite encouraging for the first couple of minutes, but Hull had the first chance after 4 minutes, and as this half went on, Hull strengthened their grip on this game more and more and more. But it was Baloumi who was sensational for Hull on the right-hand side. It was his first bit of work he did in the game. His cross found Casey Palmer on the edge of the box, and it went, but fortunately for Oxford, Palmer's shot went harmlessly over the bar. You actually would expect Casey Palmer to do a lot better from there. Scored a screamer against Oxford for Coventry in the FA Cup last season. But we got into a pattern of Hull being very patient, very composed on the ball, and passing the ball very neatly through Oxford United time and time again and looking dangerous. Oxford struggling to get any possession, very sloppy on the ball, very similar to what we saw against Swansea, and it was just a matter of time before the chances racked up. 18 minutes, it was a carbon copy of the first chance of the game. Bellumi again looking really dangerous, an excellent cross, and it was Simmons this time who arrived onto the ball and put it over the bar. Jamie Cumming was tested on 23 minutes as a beautiful move from Hull sliced United open. It was Palmer and Omar slicing through United's defence. Omar got through on goal and it needed Jamie Cumming to produce a pretty neat save with his feet to keep the scores level. Then another chance just a couple of minutes later as Oxford failed to clear the ball, and it was Bellumi, who the latest of Hull's players to put a good chance over the bar. But Hull were getting closer and closer, and on 32 minutes it was the closest that they came. Bellumi, having far too much time in the penalty area, was able to dribble back out the penalty area, get to the edge of the box, a beautiful effort, looked like it was going in, hit the post, went wide. Another massive let-off for United, who were just about clinging on to a 0-0 scoreline at the moment. But just like what we saw against Swansea, Oxford found a little bit of joy just at the end of the first half, and finally they created a chance and had a shot on goal. For once, Tyler Goodrum got a little bit of space in midfield and he was able to sweep the ball out to Greg Lee on the left-hand side. Lee's cross was a good one, and Hidde Ter Avest was arriving on it at the back post, but his header was well saved by Pandor in the Hull goal. Hull goal? Hull goal. The half ended with a spell of Hull pressure and corners, but again, they could not find the back of the net, and somehow, some way, Oxford got into half-time at 0-0. There was no getting away from the fact that the Tigers have been completely dominant in this first half. Just like Swansea, they moved the ball around with ease, and they always seemed to be able to find Bellumi, who was in acres of space on the Hull right. It was just finishing that let Hull down, really. They could have easily been 2 or 3 goals up, wouldn't not have flattered them at all. And Oxford were really struggling just to compete in the game, and that was the biggest worry, as we just didn't seem like we were able to compete in this first half at all. Couldn't get on the ball, couldn't keep the ball, and we just ended up giving it back to Hull. I keep saying Swansea, it was so similar to that Swansea game, and then we were just having to chase the ball around again. It was a tough watch, and Oxford really needed to change something. Would they? Join me in the second half to find out. Well, as we know, it was a better second half from Oxford United, but Hull started the second half the stronger side, and it was a bit of deja vu from the first half, really, as it was Hull down their right-hand side, looking dangerous, ball in the box, on-rushing midfielder, getting on the end of it, putting it over the bar. Complete deja vu to what we saw in the first half, but bloody hell, out of absolutely nothing, Oxford scored. 55 minutes on the clock. Goodrum, with a fantastic switch of play, like in the first half, got Greg Lee free on the left-hand side. Lee's cross was a good one. Scarlett missed with his diving header, and it was a good job he did, because it came to Ter Avest at the back stick. He was able to chest it down and tuck it away with his second touch. A neat little volley into the back of the net. And as I said at the start, football is a crazy and stupid, and if you're a Hull fan, unfair game. And as you know, goals change games, and all of a sudden there was energy in this Oxford United side. There was energy in the stands as we finally heard the fans get behind the team. But it wasn't all good news, because Ben Nelson did go off injured for United. It was a worrying one as well. He just fell over, looked like a muscular injury because nobody was around him. But it did mean that Mr. Oxford United, Sam Long, was able to come on to replace him. And Hull continued to create chances, and they continued to destroy Oxford down their right-hand side. Ter Avest had to make a vital block to the first ball that came into the box, but then from that throwing that was taken very quickly, Bellumi got into the area, got close to the goal on the byline. It was a tight angle, but he was able to hit his shot just wide of the post. But Oxford were doing a decent job of taking the sting out of the game in this second half, a lot better than they were doing in the first half, and Buckingham made 2 more changes with 20 minutes to go. Harris and Kioso came on for Ter Avest and Scarlett. And Hull weren't getting their luck with injuries either, because on 77 minutes they lost their star man, Bellumi, who had to come off with an injury. It was a result of earlier on in the half, Kieran Brown absolutely siving him down and receiving a booking, and he was never kind of the same after that. Probably the most important thing that Brown did in the game. 10 minutes to go, Rodriguez came on for El Mazzuni, and Oxford were looking more and more comfortable in this game, and it looked more and more likely that we would hold on to this 1-0 lead because Hull, for the first time in the game, started to look a bit ragged and a bit sloppy with their passing. But they did create one more big chance, and that was on 88 minutes. Again, umpteenth time, a cross in from the right-hand side. It was Bedia who just come onto the pitch. He got across Elliot Moore, got a touch on it, but once again, Oxford's goal living a charmed life because it went just wide of the post. Some huge groans around the whole of Oxfordshire as 8 minutes went up on the referee's board, but Oxford did a fantastic job of running down the clock and seeing this one out. And for a side that looked completely dead on their feet in the first half, all of a sudden they were the side that seemed to have the energy as they were thundering into tackles, winning second balls at this stage of the game far more than they were doing at any other point. And Hull were very wayward and couldn't create a chance, and in the end of it, the referee blew his whistle and Oxford come away with it with a 1-0 win. Again, not sure how we did it, but we bloody needed it, and we got it. Let's move on to my final thoughts. Let's start with the visitors in Hull City. Hull fans, oh my goodness, what a frustrating and tough afternoon, or evening I should say, for you guys. We've all had seen games like this where you dominate the game, create loads of chances, and somehow end up losing the game 1-0. So I can only just imagine how frustrated you must be. But your side played fantastically well in the first half. You played some really good football. Oxford could not live with you in this first half. You carved us open time and time again. Bellumi was superb. And you were really patient and composed in possession. And Oxford tried to press you, but time and time again you just played around the press. And there seemed to be players popping up in so many little acres of space, unmarked, able to run at this Oxford United backline. It was a real backs to the wall job, and somehow I still don't know how Oxford got through that first half at 0-0. But it just sort of, the sloppiness came in, and you sense you get a little bit more frustrated when you went 1-0 down and players trying to force it a little bit, and in the end Oxford were able to ride the game out. But I know the pressure's going to mount now on Tim Volter and new Hull fans. 6 without a win, and you're going to be thinking, you know, is this guy the man to take us forward? But you've got to give him a little bit more time. You've got to be impressed with some of the football that you were playing. I also saw your game against Sunderland. You were unlucky to lose that 1-0 as well. So surely it isn't time to turn on Tim Volter just yet. Surely you've got to give him a little bit more time, because there is shoots of a quality side in there, and a side that's going to play exciting and entertaining football, which is, I know, the mantra of what you wanted, or what the club wanted after they got rid of Rossinia last year. So let me know your thoughts down below. I know that was a brutally tough result to take, and my channel's not about taking the piss out of opposition fans at all, so I'd be genuinely like to know your thoughts on the game. I know we were jammy as heck to win that one. You don't have to tell me that, but I'd just love to know your thoughts on how you move forward after this, what Volter needs to do to kind of improve things. And for me, it just seems a case of eventually, if you keep playing like that, eventually you are going to start taking your chances. But you might see it differently. Let me know. And good luck for the rest of the season. And let's move on to Oxford United now. How do you feel, Oxford fans? We needed that victory so badly. You could sense how flat everybody was in the first half of that game. It was almost like everything that we feared about the Championship was like coming true. And I know we've got players out injured, but we really were struggling to just compete with this whole side like we did against Swansea. And you're just really worried for like what this might mean for the rest of the season. But the players, if anything, are good at digging in and being competitive and being tough to beat. And one of the things I was thinking about before this game was, my biggest worry is Oxford usually need to play bloody well to win a game. It's not often we play crap and we won a game. But today, we played pretty crap, but we won a game. Extremely opportunistic performance. Just created very little, but we took what came about. Ter Avest, beautiful finish, lovely move from the players that came into the side. Lee to Ter Avest, obviously Gudrun played a big hand in that goal as well. The real heroes of the day were once again the back four and the defensive structure and shape that Des Buckingham has really coached well into this side. Whether it was 5 at the back, whether it was 4 at the back, balls into the box were invariably dealt with very well by Moore, by Nelson, coming, making saves when he needed to as well. I thought that Oxford really struggled with Bellumi on that right-hand side. He was excellent. But, you know, Brown and Lee, they didn't give up. They kept going. I thought Kioso looked solid when he came on. Ter Avest obviously had a decent game as well. But I also thought Will Vaulks was impressive in there today. Hopefully we can get off his back a little bit. He was trying to play forward a lot more, won some great tackles, a great little sliding tackle at the end of the game to stop an attack. And I thought he was good. So hopefully we can give him a bit of a break. We know we've got a lot of key players out injured, a lot of attacking, pacey players, and so I give Buckingham a lot of credit for changing things around. We needed to change it. You needed to take Rodriguez out of the side, who hasn't been very effective of late, and that proved dividends. We got the job done. Somehow, some way, we got the job done. And we looked at these sort of 3 games, and we desperately knew we kind of needed to win one of them. And thankfully, we have won one of those games now. And you go into this Watford game and you can treat it like a little bit of a free hit. But if we can do the same sort of thing, as crazy as the game is, if we'd have lost today, we could have even been in the relegation zone come the weekend. But if we win, we won. And then if we win on Friday, we'll be right up on the cusp of the playoffs. It's a stupid game at times, isn't it? But that is also why we love it. So, not pretty, not anything we're really going to remember too much come the end of the season, but by Joseph, very important victory. Just to calm everyone down, give a bit of belief back into this squad, because you sense there was a lack of belief in that first half from everybody in the stadium. So hopefully that's brings some good vibes going into the weekend. Because Oxford have won a game, folks. First time in 8 that we've got that winning feeling back. And who knows what we can do against Watford. But you know, it doesn't always have to be pretty. We got the job done. Let me know, Oxford fans, your thoughts down below. I'll look forward to reading these comments a lot more than reading the ones from the ones that we had from after the Swansea game. That's for sure. Let me know down below. I'll be back to do predictions videos and then a review of Watford versus Oxford United. Come on, you Yellows. That's a win. I'll see you soon.